Today we're going to talk about Mr. 918 Mean Machine. We're going to talk about his Viking 32. This, gentlemen, is the unicorn. It's the Holy Grail. This one was amp number 36. For those of you that don't want to stand on your head, 36. I also have amp number 47 here. Believe it or not, Mr. 918 Mean Machine, he brought me this this beautiful Holy Grail of an amplifier. It's two Sweet 16s that are bolted together. And he brought this to me at the Bakerman BBI break this year. I said, BBI, I knew it would take this thing and I need you to make it go. I said, okay. And we're not done with it yet. I'm doing the testing of it this morning. And primarily what I'm playing with is my new 875 amp power supply I built myself, which I'm waiting on the last module to show up to make it 1,000. Yeah. Variable voltage and everything. So I'm sitting here and I'm playing with that, and I'm using that to run this beautiful amplifier. It's two Sweet 16s, like I said, bolted together. And it's bolted together here and here. And well, when it came in here, it was a shit bucket. And not because the amp was a shit bucket, but the electrical system in it was a joke. Here, let me show you why. And it's not that this amp was a shit bucket, because it's not. This thing is a beautiful work of art. It was that the power distribution network in here was horrible, as you guys just seen back here. I mean, shit, just the positive distribution on this side alone was enough to make this thing catch on fire. So, I'm not done with this yet. I'm going to do the wrap portion of this video with the tins on it and show the fans running and that kind of thing. But, this thing will never do anything more than about 3,500 watts, period. I don't care what voltage you put it on. I don't care how much drive you put into it. It's going to do about 3,500. The primary limitations of it is, of course, the boards. It's a trace board. And two, the combiners, the input combiners and the output splitters. Very small, and the circuit is very inefficient. I mean, there's a couple things we can do to make it better, like we can convert it to Class C. But that is only a very, very small improvement, which will only get you about another 100 watts. Maybe another 200 watts at the most out of this peak power. So it's really not worth doing. So we're going to run it through its full gambit. First we're going to run it with a little 2-pill and a 2950. Then we're going to take the 2-pill and hook it up to the derail radio. And then we're going to pull the 2-pill out and we're going to put a 4-pill in there, and we're going to whack it with the most amount of drive that you would ever want to put into these, which is about 400 watts peak, which is really pushing this box to its limit. The internal circuitry on this amplifier limits us greatly. I feel bad because I wish I was in a position where I wasn't so busy, where I could take the transistors out of here, replace them with HGs or something, and build him a comp box with these 8 transistors that are in here, and he could get a whole lot more juice out of these exact same devices for less amperage off the gauge. But let's go ahead and let's run it through its little paces here. So let's see, we got everything off. I gotta clean that switch when I get that far. So we got everything off. I'm just going to show you the 2-pill drive. Remember, that's in the 5X position, you guys. Oh. Amplifier's still on. About 400 watts worth of drive. Peak. Audio. So right at about 1,000 bird. And right about 3,000 watts peak. So what we're going to get. It's on 15 volts. That's what it's doing with the average plain Jane radio. Now let's go ahead and switch it up a notch. So give me just a second. Alright, so we got the D-rail radio hooked up now. Now you guys, the input circuit on this is kind of funky. They got a huge attenuator on the input side. We're going to try and push past that and overcome it. That's, look, it's not that these boxes produced a lot of watts. It was just back in the day, if you had one of these, your wang was so big you were knocking over people as you were walking through the shopping center. I mean, it was like a baby holding an apple walking around. Because you were a badass. Not a lot of people back in the day when these things were hot had 16 pills. Okay? They just didn't. I mean, you were a badass around here if you had an 8 pill. Just saying. The nostalgia of this, the history of this, the... struggling for the word. The chutzpah of this, the feeling of this is what I love. Like I said, I'd love to own one of these someday, and I'm sure I'll have one sitting on my shelf that's going to be part of my collection come sometime soon. It's amazing. I put the emotion out there into the digital ether, and all of a sudden I'll get like 15 phone calls. People will have these things junked out 9 ways from Sunday, and they'll want to send them to me and trade them in on something. It's just the way it works. So anyhow, let's get on with it. Enough talking. So, let's see. D-rail radio hooked up to 2-pill. Audio. A solid 500 now, right? Peak power. Now we picked up a little bit of peak. Look at what we're doing on the average meter now. Audio. Picked up a nice cruising 700 watts worth of bird, and we picked up about 200 watts worth of peak. That's it. 3,200 watts. That's all she wrote. Now, they strongly suggest in the book that you drive this with like a Texas Star 250, 350 at the most with a low drive radio. Is what it is. Well, if we're going to break it, let's break it now. Hold on a second. Let me throw my 4-pill on the bench and we'll get on with this little last test. Okay. So I got the bench 4-pill hooked up and the amplifier's off. Let me show you how much drive we're going to put into this, which is going to be a lot. Audio. That's 6.5. Peak. Okay. I strongly suggest that you don't run your amp like this. That's all I'm going to say, even though it's got more than plenty of fan on it now to make it happen for you, Captain. Alright, so amp's on. 3,500 watts. Full 2 grand in average power. Just running out of room. It can't give you no more. So 3,500 watts. That's all this thing's going to do. Alright, Mr. Mean Machine, we demonstrated what it can do all the way through its full gamut of motion. So now let me get the other part of it done, which is going to be clean the cabinet. I'm going to fully disassemble the fans, take everything apart, clean the cabinets inside and out, redo the power jacks on that, and yeah. On to the next step. Bump on. Well, Mr. 918 Mean Machine, you're all done, buddy. It's all cleaned up. I took everything apart, cleaned everything, put everything back together. We ended up having one faulty fan. It's been repaired, replaced with a brand new fan. I even went and I was able to find new Texas Star screws. We were able to get the original holes to marry up and work again for you. So you got no loose screws. And she is perfectly spotlessly clean. All the way around. Fans are all clean, the grill guards are all clean. Now, you did say to me, BBI, can Can we put different fans on it? We can. The problem is that the fans move an ass ton of air. And if I was to put quieter fans on here, they're not going to move as much air. So then we run into that risky business of too little. You know what I mean? I went ahead and I put body plugs in the holes that were left open stock from the factory. Clean these up, and then I bent the fingers over so these will never come out. All your fuses have been bypassed, and actually most of these have been glued in because the fuse holders themselves were becoming very fragile. So I went ahead and glued those together. I got rid of the heat shrink and that whole mess, and I cleaned these all up. Now you know, as soon as you plug power in, you don't want to unplug the switch until or unplug the fans. It'll pop the fuse on the inside as soon as it's got power. The other thing we did is you asked me to put big lugs. These are pressure hydraulically crimped and soldered on, so you're not going to have any loss there. But real quick, I wanted to run the fans and show you that all the lights are working and everything on the front's all working. This thing is 100%. This is just about as nice as it is when it comes off the showroom floor. I even took the time and I scrubbed the inside of the case. You had some rust issues that were starting to form on this side on the inside of the case. I went ahead and scrubbed that with wash. Nitro cleaned it, which pulls all the oil out of it, then went through and steel wooled it and got rid of about 90% of the rust, and then I sealed it, shot it with a little bit of clear to keep it from rusting, if that makes any sense. So it's about as good as when it comes out of the factory floor. The overdrive has been repaired. That had a bad transistor on it. I'm telling you, this thing moves an ass ton of air. Thermocouple is still engaged, so you can literally turn this on and run. This is the only model of this series of amps where they actually had the thermocouple mounted to a piece of metal and it wasn't sitting up on a piece of phenolic on the inside. I just love how much air this moves. It's like almost impossible to overheat one of these boxes. Not saying it's impossible, but it's almost impossible. But I cleaned up your power wires in the back and you're all done. Me and Machine, I appreciate you sending this thing up to me. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to bring this thing back to life and get it up and fully chooching for you. But on that note, I'm out of here. I'm on to some other stuff. I got a MOSFET box I'm going to go work on next. Gentlemen, my name is BBI, and without a shadow of a doubt, I am the biggest mud duck in Idaho. Come find me on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, and make sure to hit the subscribe button. The Viking 3. Call that number. You got something you want me to rebuild or repair for you. The rarer than rare Viking 3. And even all your switches are nice and cleaned up for you, bud. Appreciate the opportunity. On to the next one, you guys. Bump, bump. I'll see you. Bye.